Tracy Sable tonight on EWTN News Nightly, Seeing Red. A new report says the government has threatened a Catholic hospital over its sanctuary candle, protecting children. Another U.S. state adds age verification to some internet sites. Investigation update. New evidence into the Biden family dealings abroad. We have reaction from Capitol Hill. And opening the books. Analysis of Planned Parenthood's most recent annual report. These stories and more tonight.
From EWTN, the Global Catholic Network, this is EWTN News Nightly.
Thank you for being with us. Our top story tonight, new details have surfaced about the House Oversight Committee's investigation into the Biden family business and possible links to China. It is a story EWTN News Nightly first told you about just a few days ago. Capitol Hill correspondent Eric Rosales joins us now with the latest. Eric.
Well, good evening, Tracy. The GOP-led Oversight Committee, headed up by Kentucky Congressman James Comer, has now released some of the financial evidence that they've uncovered from the US Treasury Department. It includes bank records with names and dollar amounts. Congressman Comer claims that Biden family members received millions from associates, which he says came from Chinese companies.
So I essentially got what I needed from the Biden bank records going in the back door. And now we have overwhelming evidence that I think will give us the ability to win in court when we start subpoenaing, members of the family.
The memo released by Republicans on the Oversight Committee states bank records show Rob Walker, a Biden family associate, used his company to transfer money from a Chinese energy company to Hallie Biden, the widow of Beau, plus the president's brother James and the president's son Hunter, along with an unknown Biden. The document states, quote, specifically on March 1st, 2017, less than 2 months after VP Joe Biden left public office, State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese company, wired $3 million to Robinson Walker LLC. The next day, Robinson Walker LLC then wired more than $1 million to a company associated with James Gilliar, a business partner of Hunter Biden. It goes on to say, quote, afterwards, Biden family members and their companies began receiving incremental payments over a period of approximately 3 months. And, quote, from the bank records, it appears that the Biden family received approximately 1/3 of the money obtained from the China wire. The senior Republican on the committee, Congressman Clay Higgins, put out a statement which reads in part, we will slowly, judiciously, calmly move through evidence of criminal treasonous guilt. The buck didn't stop with the big guy. That's where it started.
How much money are we talking about?
We're talking about millions of dollars. It's real money. I'm from Appalachia, and I'll tell you, when you get in the 5 million plus, that's real money.
It is important to note that I did reach out to the lead Democrat on the committee, Congressman Jamie Raskin, for a comment. He's accused Congressman Comer of misrepresenting the probe in the Biden family. His staff referred me to the Democrat Communication Office of the Oversight Committee. I put an email out to them. I never heard back from them. Now, the White House is referring all questions to the Department of Justice. I also reached out to the DOJ, but I never heard anything back. By the way, Congressman Comer does plan to hold a press conference next week when the House returns. Tracy?
Well, Eric, I also understand there is another investigation involving the FBI and Joe Biden when he was vice president. What can you tell us about this?
Well, that involves Senator Chuck Grassley. He was contacted by an FBI whistleblower claiming that whistleblower has FBI documents which showed an alleged criminal money for policy scheme involving Joe Biden when he was vice president, along with a foreign national. But Congressman Comer has now subpoenaed the FBI director for those records, and will stay on top of that story as well. Tracy?
All right, Eric Rosales reporting for us from Capitol Hill tonight. Thank you so much. Well, the White House continues to speak out ahead of a meeting with congressional leaders of both parties next week. At issue, the debt ceiling. So far, no deal has been reached to raise it. Meanwhile, the nation's debt has swelled past $31 trillion. White House correspondent Owen Jensen reports.
Tracy, right now, U.S. lawmakers have just a few weeks to find a solution. Come June 1st, according to the Treasury Department, if the bills are not paid, there could be a devastating government default. And in the White House press briefing room today, the head of the Office of Management and Budget stepped to the podium.
Last week, we saw House Republicans pass a partisan bill that essentially says we're going to put our entire economy at risk unless the president agrees to our entire agenda.
No one expects that the recently passed House bill, which would increase the nation's borrowing authority as well as cut spending, will reach President Joe Biden's desk. The Democratic Senate won't let it. The director of the Office of Management and Budget also told reporters,
So don't let anyone tell you this is about fiscal responsibility or deficit reduction. It is not. This is about using the threat of a catastrophic default to extract deep cuts that the American people do not support.
Also in the press briefing room today, National Security Council spokesman John Kirby addressing Russia's claim that 2 Ukrainian drones flew into the very heart of Moscow under the cover of darkness, reaching the Kremlin before they were shot down. Russia accused the United States of being behind the alleged attack.
One thing I can tell you for certain is that the United States was not involved in this incident in any way, contrary to Mr. Peskov's lies. And that's what they are, just lies.
And on this National Day of Prayer, Republican National Committee Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel writes, "Today, we join with all Americans in thanking God for our many blessings, and especially for the men and women in our military who put their lives on the line to protect our freedoms." A little background on the National Day of Prayer. It takes place on the first Thursday of May, which of course today is. Now, the tradition dates back to 1952. It was designated by Congress and is proclaimed annually by the President. At the White House, Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly.
Well, a new report says the Department of Health and Human Services is threatening a Catholic hospital for keeping its sanctuary candle lit. According to the Washington Examiner last month, HHS cited the sanctuary candle as a safety hazard. Now, St. Francis Health System in Oklahoma is threatening legal action for a violation of religious freedom. The hospital says the candle has been approved by the fire marshal and other local officials. Well, the state of Utah has enacted a law requiring age verification on adult websites. A similar measure passed last year in Louisiana. This comes as Utah continues its fight to crack down on pornography and children's ability to access it. In 2016, Utah officially declared the issue a public health hazard. Planned Parenthood received more taxpayer money last year than any time in its history. This as the abortion business is providing fewer services. According to its recently released annual report, last year Planned Parenthood received $670.4 million in taxpayer funds and performed more than 374,000 abortions. Still, thanks in part to the overturning of Roe v. Wade, that actually marks a decrease of 2.4% from 2021. And we go now to Jeff Bradford, president of Pro-Life Human Coalition. Jeff, great to be with you today. If you don't mind, take us through this annual report from Planned Parenthood and also what stood out the most to you.
Well, Tracy, it's great to be with you. And you said it in the beginning. This is their second highest, most abortions in their history, even after the Dobbs decision. And they received more money than ever before, as you mentioned, $670 million. But they are providing less services than ever before, more abortions, and more money. So the dollars are going towards abortion and not care for women.
Yeah, and this report also shows, the extent to which Planned Parenthood is really more than just an abortion business. Tell us about the other so-called services they provide that are really causing concern.
Well, as you know, they're getting into a lot of the trans movement of gender care and transition. But the things that I'm most worried about right now are the reductions in services that they're providing. And over $50 million that are going towards midterms elections this past year. And so they're continuing to profit off abortion and use it in the political sphere and use it to transition children to in transgender situations, which is really concerning.
Absolutely, it is. Just pivoting just a little bit, for those who are not familiar with your organization, can you tell us more about it and why you say that your model is what Planned Parenthood should actually be doing.
Yeah, thank you for asking. You know, Human Coalition is one of the largest pro-life, pro-woman organizations in the country. 76% of the women that we serve who have already made a decision to abort would say that they would prefer to parent if their circumstances were different. I mean, doesn't that just break your heart? That 76% of women who are planning to abort, if they just had the help and the hope that they need, would prefer to be a mom. And so Human Coalition works both directly with women and families to provide tangible help. We have specialists in housing and education and employment, wraparound services and care for moms to empower these women to become moms and flourish as moms and families. And this is something Planned Parenthood doesn't talk about nor do. They don't spend their dollars on helping women. They only spend dollars on aborting their child. The problem is, Tracy, that these women come in with the same issues before abortion that they do with after abortion, and their circumstances haven't changed. And Planned Parenthood and the pro-abortion industry is not helping women. And so at Human Coalition, we work both directly with women and helping them and empowering them, but we also work on the legislative side. We work with good laws, and because we work directly with women, we understand what moves the needle for women, and we're able to then put that into good legislation and laws that actually help women and families. And we do that state by state now across the country, and we've served over 50,000 women just this past year and continuing to provide more and more services. We work with over 9,000 organizations and provide resources and help from those organizations, again, to empower these women and help them become flourishing moms. I think that's what Planned Parenthood should focus on, not just killing a child.
Yeah, Jeff, we probably have maybe 20 seconds left or so, but quickly, any final thoughts before I let you go, either about this report or about your organization?
Well, it's disappointing that Planned Parenthood continues to kill children at record numbers. We have to do more as a pro-life movement. We have to be able to stand in the gap for moms and families and empower them to flourish. And we can only do that through helping moms, loving families. And that's what we do at Human Coalition. That's what the pro-life movement has done for 50 years. And so we see some apathy in the market. So if you're a part of this movement, if this is something you care about, we hope that you will continue to speak up and make your voices heard across the country, that this is the most important issue of our day.
Yeah, Jeff, great to be with you. God bless you. God bless your work. We appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
And we have a lot more still to come here on EWTN News Nightly, including online censorship, what TikTok is saying about the shutdown and reversal of an account belonging to Catholic Jimmy Lai's filmmaker, and a chance to grow. The Holy Father releases his message for the 2023 World Youth Day. We're in Portugal. After a week-long ceasefire, violence resumes between warring factions in Sudan. Smoke was seen rising from the capital following airstrikes and artillery fire by the Sudanese army. President Joe Biden issued an executive order authorizing targeted sanctions that promote accountability to those involved in the conflict, adding that he stands with the people of Sudan. More than 500 people have been killed so far since the fighting has begun. The producers of a popular new documentary on Jimmy Lai had their TikTok account censored and then later restored. Michigan-based Acton Institute's account was suspended after posting clips from the film. Jimmy Lai, a Catholic convert, currently is serving time in prison in Hong Kong for supporting democracy. The account was reinstated following a public outcry. For the first time since the Reformation, a Catholic leader will formally participate in a coronation service in England.
It's a huge privilege, but being a cardinal, you get privileges.
The Catholic Archbishop of Westminster, Cardinal Vincent Nichols, will bestow a blessing upon the newly crowned King Charles III. The Catholic Bishops' Conference of England and Wales has encouraged Catholics to pray for the new king, as well as offer a special mass for King Charles on Friday. While people are already camping out for prime spots to see the procession for King Charles III's coronation, millions of people are expected to view the parade in person. Well, it is less than 3 months until World Youth Day. Pope Francis says that he hopes participants use the event as a chance to become more hopeful.
Queridos jóvenes, ustedes se están preparando para la Jornada Mundial de la Juventud.
In a video message released today, the Holy Father said that there will always be concerns about traveling, but adds the event will be worth it. And young people will emerge feeling energized. He added that one good way to prepare is to spend time with grandparents. World Youth Day is set for early August. EWTN News Vatican Correspondent Colm Flynn joins us now from Lisbon, Portugal, the site of World Youth Day. Colm, great to see you again. I know you've been in Lisbon all week long talking to people about the upcoming World Youth Day. What have you been hearing?
Well, Tracy, very good evening from beautiful Lisbon, the capital of Portugal. And I can tell you that from the people we've been speaking to over the past number of days as we've traveled around this incredible city, there is a great deal of excitement and anticipation ahead of World Youth Day, which will take place in less than 3 months. So they're really into the crunch phase here in terms of logistics, in terms of management, in terms of coordinating what is going to be a huge event. And you heard Pope Francis, of course, releasing a video message today from the Vatican, inviting young people all over the world to come. And that is the big question now, Tracy. People are wondering how many people will actually come here between the 1st and the 6th of August. Officially, they are predicting between 1 and 2 million people across the entire week. Some say it's a realistic number. Others are saying it might be a tad bit optimistic.
Yeah, and Colm, how is the city preparing for this massive event?
Well, I spoke to the mayor. We sat down in the town hall with Mayor Carlos, and a very nice man. He was telling us about all the preparation that's been going on. Basically, what they're doing is spending around 36 million euro. Most of this is public money, taxpayer money. They're spending this on infrastructure like portable toilets coming in, extra accommodation, and the stage, which will be the altar for Pope Francis's final mass. Now, here, you know, the Catholics in Portugal are very enthusiastic about this. They're very excited about Pope Francis coming, about them hosting World Youth Day. But then, for the rest of the general public, there has been a bit of controversy in the news here around the cost of this event. As I mentioned, 36 million euro from the public coffers, but a lot of focus was on the stage they're constructing, which we saw just an hour ago, an incredible big structure that they're building just north of the city, where hundreds of thousands of young people will be camped around. And that was originally meant to cost around 5.8 million euros just for that stage alone. Now, when that news broke here in the Portuguese media, there was a huge outcry from the public, and they've revised that figure down to 2.9 million euros. Still a lot of money, but when I spoke to the mayor and I put this to him, he said this is a great investment.
Colm, we have maybe 30 seconds left or so, but very quickly, what about the young Catholics that you've been meeting? What have they been saying about all this?
Well, of course, they are hugely excited and enthusiastic. Yesterday, we went to the headquarters for World Youth Day, and they have volunteers. They're working in the international comms section, in the visa section, the international relations. They were all Portuguese, and they were so excited about the fact that they were going to host such a great event in the Catholic Church that has been in fantastic parts of the world like Sydney, Panama, Berlin, and so on, that it is coming here to Lisbon. Again, as I said, a city that normally does not host events of this size and scale. So the enthusiastic feeling from the young people, you can feel it in the air. There's a bit of anticipation as we're only 3 months out. A lot of stuff still to be done. Will they get it all together in time? I'm sure they will. Finally, Tracy, before we go, I know we're out of time. A funny moment with the mayor. I asked him about accommodation. Lots of young people want to come from around the world, but they're worried about the price and availability of places to stay. And he said, my message is, don't think about it yet. Book the flights, come here. He said, we'll find a solution. We have schools, we have halls. He said, come, don't worry about that. We'll take care of it. So they're very optimistic.
That's wonderful. Welcoming everyone to this beautiful event. Colm, thank you so much for your time today and for this report. We appreciate it as always. Up next on EWTN News Nightly, all dolled up. Why a special part of the population is applauding a new Barbie doll. A toy company, Mattel, recently revealed its first Barbie doll representing a person with Down syndrome. The toy company worked with the National Down Syndrome Society. The blue and yellow dress with butterflies represents symbols and colors for Down syndrome awareness. And the 3 chevrons on the necklace are similar to how people with Down syndrome have 3 copies of their 21st chromosome. The doll also comes with foot orthotics. And we go now to Mark Bradford, Lejeune Fellow at the Word on Fire Institute and also father of a 21-year-old son who has Down syndrome. Mark, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it. I'm curious, tell us your reaction when you first heard that Mattel planned to make this Barbie doll representing those with Down syndrome.
Yeah, I was surprised, frankly. I'm not real in touch with the toy world these days. Our children are older. Our daughters played with Barbies rather when they were young, and it was great, frankly, to see. We always fear these words, diversity and inclusion, these days, but sometimes they're good words, and in this case, I think it's a very good thing.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely it is. Why do you think this doll is important, and how do you think it could be used maybe as a learning tool to bring awareness?
Yeah, Down syndrome is representative, I think, of many other disabilities because it's very visual. We know when we see someone that has Down syndrome that is their disability. And so really, I think this doll is representative of all people with disabilities, and it represents a greater move toward inclusion and recognition that they're important members of our society, important members of our community. Dolls are friends of young girls, and people with Down syndrome are great friends of individuals that they might meet in school or in their parishes. So it's a great opportunity, I think, to open up that world for younger people especially, and to help them understand the value of the friendships that they might be able to form with individuals with Down syndrome or other disabilities too.
Yeah, and it seems we're seeing, more and more people with Down syndrome being represented in things like TV shows and modeling, and now this Barbie doll. I'd like to get your thoughts on that, and how important do you think that is?
Yeah, I think it is important. We know the reality, right? We know the reality of prenatal diagnosis and termination. We know the reality that around 75% of individuals probably that are prenatally diagnosed with Down syndrome are aborted before they ever have a chance to live. So I think just raising the awareness of the diversity of the community that we live in, and that diversity includes individuals with disabilities like Down syndrome, and they're people like the rest of us. They should be loved, they should be appreciated, they should be drawn into our communities, into our families, into our parishes. And we need to find ways to make them feel more welcome, I think, than we have in the past. There have been so many fabulous strides made for individuals living with Down syndrome, from the days of institutionalization to now, when we have inclusive schools, we have programs in parishes across the country, many of them anyway, not enough, to serve individuals with disabilities. And this is just one more step forward, I think.
Absolutely. Mark, we have about a minute or so left, but do you think that maybe, this doll would be a great way to change, the hearts and minds of maybe some women if they get that diagnosis and they're hearing something from their doctor, a great way to learn more about those with Down syndrome?
Yes, that's an excellent question. I think any movement toward recognition of the value of individuals with disabilities is a good one. We had a situation not too long ago that I think we spoke about of the city council member up in Massachusetts that made this horrible statement about a pro-life clinic perhaps missing an ultrasound submarker for Down syndrome, and how much that would cost the community in additional educational expenses, et cetera. Those attitudes have to fade away. They just have to fade away. And I think the backlash that resulted from that is a good indicator of the growing sentiment of the value of these individuals in our communities, and it's something that we need to try to continue to build on. This doll is sold out. I just checked this afternoon. You can order one on Amazon for delivery sometime in December, or you can go to eBay and find one enterprising person who grabs some and is selling them for $100 a piece. So there's a real interest in this, and it's an amazing phenomenon to see, I think, in the context of the era in which we live. It's a beautiful sign of the future, I think.
It really is. And Mark, thank you so much for coming on and speaking to us about all this. We really appreciate it. God bless you.
Thank you. God bless you. Very much appreciate it too. Bye-bye.
And we thank you for watching tonight. Remember, you can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at EWTN News Nightly. I'm Tracy Sable. Good night and God bless.